The Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, the first chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
As soon as Jesus and the disciples left the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now, Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they told him about her at once. He came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her, and she began to serve them. That evening at sunset, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons. And the whole city was gathered around the door. And he cured many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. And he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him. In the morning, while it was still very dark, he got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed. And Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, "Everyone is searching for you." He answered, "Let us go on to the neighboring towns, so that I may proclaim the message there also. For this is what I came out to do." And he went throughout Galilee, proclaiming the message in their synagogues and casting out demons. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Sadie, you want to come up for a children's message? I'm going to try something new today and see if it works. Because, we always like to take chances. Good morning, Sadie. How you doing? Good. Hey, do you know who that guy is? That little red guy? What's his name? Elmo. Well, do you know that this week Elmo sent out a message and he got lots and lots and lots of answers? Do you know what message he sent out this week? Do you? No. So he sent out a message saying, "I'm just checking in. How is everyone doing?" And so lots and lots of people came back and told him how they are doing. Do you think everybody's doing great? No. Some people came back and said, "Elmo, I'm not doing very well." But I thought it was really nice that he reached out to people. So I have a little video that I'm going to just show you and me, and then I'll tell everybody else about it, okay? So let's see if this works. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Go back to the beginning. Well, we're not going to waste any time with that. What happened was Elmo and his dad went on TV this week. And the folks on TV said, "Elmo, that was really thoughtful of you to ask people how they were doing." And he said, "Well, everybody's doing differently, right? Everybody has feelings. You have feelings. You think all of them have feelings? Yep. And he said, everybody has feelings, and that's okay. And that it's just important to check on your friends sometimes. Do you ever check on folks that you care about? You say, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. Does your grandma ever say, "Sadie, how are you doing?" Yeah, she checks on you. Do you think that's really nice? Does that feel like she really cares about you? Yep. So that was Elmo's message this week, that we should check on each other because sometimes it just makes us feel better to know that we're not alone. Right? That seems good? Yep. So Elmo is doing exactly the thing that Jesus did in our story today. Did you know that? Because Jesus checked up on Simon's mother-in-law and she wasn't feeling well and he healed her. Pretty cool. Elmo and Jesus doing the same thing. Do you think we can do that? Do you think we can check on people and make them feel better? I think we can. Because you know what? Every time I see you on Sunday morning, it makes me feel better. Because your smile and how friendly you are just makes me feel better. And I bet you didn't even know that, did you? Yep. So we can do that for each other, can't we? We make each other feel better. Yeah. All right. Ready to say our prayer? Dear Jesus, help us to remember to check on our friends. That makes them feel good. Amen. Thank you. So I knew it was a risk that the video might not work. Today in our gospel, we have a healing story. Jesus heals, right? And we are still in the first chapter of Mark. We've got all of this stuff that's happened, and we're still in the first chapter. Jesus has done a lot. And do you remember that ever since Christmas, we've been talking about how God shows up in unexpected places, in unexpected ways, with unexpected people. I think today's story is another one of those times. Last week, Jesus was in the synagogue and he cast out an evil spirit. And today's gospel happens right after that. It says, immediately after they left the synagogue, they went to Simon and Andrew's house. And Simon's mother-in-law is sick. Now, we never hear her name. But she's important to Jesus. It says, they tell Jesus that she is sick, and he goes to her, and he lifts her up. And so all week I've been imagining how wonderful it would feel if you were sick and Jesus came and just reached out his hand to you. And by taking his hand, you're healed. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? Would you expect Jesus to show up when you're sick? Claudia would. I'm not sure I want anyone to show up when I'm sick, because I tend to be pretty ugly when I'm sick. I don't feel like being around anyone. And I mean, a lot of us have had this coughing and cold thing that's gone around. I don't want to be around anyone. So I certainly wouldn't expect Jesus to show up in the midst of my, right? Unexpected. And for a mother-in-law, unexpected. He didn't just ignore her and say, well, she'll sleep it off, it'll be fine. No, he cares enough that he goes and lifts her up, and she is immediately healed. And it says she begins to serve them. We talked about this on Wednesday night, that every time I've read this story before, that has just really annoyed me. It's really felt like, to me, right, that Jesus heals her so they have someone to make them dinner. But this week, somehow I read it differently. This week, I heard that she was healed, and her response to being healed was to serve. Now think about it. How many times in Jesus' ministry does he explain that how we follow Jesus is to serve? Amazing. So she is healed and her response is to serve. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, that we get healed, right? And is our response to serve? A lot of times it is. So this healing of Jesus, he heals this unnamed mother-in-law. And it says then word gets out. The whole town shows up. It literally says the entire town shows up at the doorstep. Because every single person needed healing of some kind. And so they all show up, and it says Jesus heals many and casts out unclean spirits. But eventually, even Jesus needs to rest. And it says, Jesus goes out while it's still dark to a deserted place all by himself to do what? To pray. To pray. To be refilled. Jesus, the Son of God, goes out to pray. And is filled up. And is ready to go when his disciples hunt him down and find him and say, everybody's looking for you. And he says, okay, it's time to go on. Because my job is to take this message everywhere. And so I've been thinking about that too. This message that Jesus is taking everywhere, it's healing. It's not just teaching and preaching. It's not just words. It's more than that. It's healing. And I'd never thought about that before either. That those two things go together. Where Jesus goes, there is teaching and healing. Because who of us don't need some healing? If a whole town shows up because everybody needs to be healed, I think it's a pretty good indication that there's lots of need. So what do you think? What are the kinds of things that we need healing for today? What do we need to be healed from? What do we need to be healed for? What ways do we need healing today? Our division. Our divisions and the way that we are cast apart needs to be healed. Fear. Yes, all kinds of fears, right? We need to be healed from our fears. Health. Yes, physical healing. Dangerous cravings. Yes, our addictions, right? The things that we think we need, the things that we think will make our lives whole, but do not. Yep. We need healing for that. How about loneliness? So many people are lonely. Grief. Do we need healing for our grief? What other ways do we need to be healed?
Mental health.
Mental health. Yes. Yeah. Mental health. Gun violence, war, the horrible things that people do to each other. Climate, the earth. The earth needs to be healed from all of the evils and sins that have been done to it. So I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I bet every single one of us here today needs healing of some kind. So do you think Jesus is here to hold out his hand and heal us? Or how do you think Jesus shows up? Unexpected times, unexpected places, in unexpected people. Do you think Jesus ever shows up as one of us? Yeah. Yeah. Reaching out to someone else. Letting them know they're not alone. A lot of healing can take place just like that. That's why I loved the Elmo story this week. That you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be trained. You don't have to be anything special. You can be a 3.5-year-old Muppet. And you can help heal people by being present, by listening, by loving. Cards, phone calls, presents, right? All of those things can be so healing. And yet, how often do we forget that we have that power? Right? Don't we forget? Don't we read stories like Jesus reaches out his hand and miraculously heals Simon's mother-in-law, and we think, well, that's all on Jesus. It wouldn't work for us. But how many times has someone reached out and held your hand, and it feels like healing? We live in a world that needs healing. All kinds of healing. All of us need it, and all of them out there need it too. Here is the good news. The good news is that Jesus shows up to heal us. The good news is that we worship a God who shows up at unexpected times, in unexpected ways, in unexpected people, and sometimes those unexpected people are us. It is good news. There is enough healing to go around. My friends, as we are in the world, let us remember that we are empowered to heal, that Jesus is there for us to heal us, and that we are always called to serve and love our neighbor.